What's going on, Bengals fans? Yesterday, Cincinnati made a flurry of roster moves, 5 in total, and then one more actually happened earlier this morning as well. We're going to break that down a little bit in some more further detail. We did our short yesterday, so if you guys are subscribed, you should have seen that yesterday as well. And then the Trey Hendrickson contract details have come out in some more detail, and it's very interesting. I wanted to touch on it as well because it might make things a little bit more easy for the Bengals to actually franchise Trey Hendrickson and keep him for that 2026 season instead of letting him walk away. So we're going to break both of those things down here on today's show. Let's get into those roster moves first here, though. Yesterday, the Bengals made a total of 5 roster moves, which, including signing Mike Pennel off the practice squad to the active 53-man roster, that was exactly what I thought they were going to end up doing. And they ended up making some more practice squad signings, and then they lost another practice squad player that we'll touch on here as well on today's video. That's why you guys need to be subscribed right here to Bengals Breakdown. We had the Lucas Patrick going to IR injury news for you guys yesterday, and yeah, sure, we kind of speculated a little bit about the following moves that were going to happen, but that's the fun of it right here at Bengals Breakdown. We actually ended up being really close to pretty much being right. They made some more roster moves, but they ended up signing Mike Pennel, and that's what I thought they were going to end up doing. So we are trying to get to 1,000 new subscribers here on the channel in the month of September. Currently, right now, we're only 10 days in here to the month of September. We're already at 750 new subscribers. Appreciate everybody who has subscribed right here to Bengals Breakdown over the past couple of days. We only need 250 more to join the 1,000 subscriber club here at Chat Sports. To help me out, stay up to date on all things Bengals news, hit that sub button for me right now. All right, the roster moves that the Bengals made yesterday. We did that video yesterday about Lucas Patrick being placed on IR. He's going to have to miss a minimum of 4 games. Then they end up signing defensive tackle Mike Pennel to the active roster. They also signed 2 more defensive ends to their practice squad, Myles Cole and Isaiah Foskey. We touched on him as well yesterday, but then the Myles Cole stuff came in after that as well. And then defensive end Isaiah Thomas was also released from the Bengals practice squad. I actually noticed they made a little bit of a typo on the transaction page on Bengals.com. They actually had Isaiah Thomas as a wide receiver, but no, Isaiah Thomas, the defensive end there. And then the last thing that I want to note here, the Bengals are also going to lose wide receiver Isaiah Williams from the practice squad. He is going to be signing with the New York Jets today. So I would assume maybe another signing happens on the Bengals practice squad at some point, maybe today, tomorrow, something like that. But Bengals are making moves, and we're going to keep you guys updated on that. The one thing that all of these moves really kind of tells me is, or really makes me worried, is about the Bengals offensive line now with Lucas Patrick going to IR. It's, Dalton Risner's a good player. I thought he went in there and played pretty well there in the first game of the season, but I'll be completely honest, in the first, 16 snaps that Lucas Patrick did play in that game, I thought the Bengals' run game was a little bit better than it was when Dalton Risner went in there. So, I'll be honest, the depth right now along the offensive line is a little bit worrisome. You have Jalen Rivers, you have Cody Ford in there that could play that guard spot, but man, you're still only down now to 3 backup offensive linemen. That worries the hell out of me. So are you guys concerned with the Bengals offensive line depth? Let me know down at the pinned comment of today's video. Kind of think we're right back to where we were to begin with before that Dalton Risner signing. Let me know what you guys think at the pinned comment. Type Y for yes or N for no. I am very worried about the Bengals offensive line depth yet again. I was worried about it during the preseason before they went out and signed Dalton Risner because all of the guys that ended up getting banged up in that spot. You're kind of right back to where you were before you ended up signing, Dalton Risner and now Lucas Patrick going to IR. He's going to end up missing a minimum of 4 games for the Bengals. What happens now if Dalton Risner or Dylan Fairchild end up going down? Risner, has had injury concerns in the past since 2017. 8 years in the NFL, not counting, obviously, the 1 game he's played now for the Bengals. He's only played more than 500 snaps in 4 of those seasons, and he's really only played over 900 snaps, which is, a good chunk of the season at least 3 times in those 8 years. he's not the most reliable guy when it comes to his health. Right now you're just left with Cody Ford and Jalen Rivers to be your backup offensive lineman, at those guard and tackle spots right now. And I'd probably be a little bit more confident having Jalen Rivers step in over Cody Ford in that situation. I thought he looked pretty good in the final preseason game for the Bengals, but, that was not necessarily going against starters for the Colts either in that final preseason game. And Jackson Kirkland is still technically on the practice squad. I could see him maybe getting a game day call-up, just in case something were to happen. But we're right back to where we started before you end up signing Dalton Risner, and this does worry me with Lucas Patrick going to IR. All right, we'll continue with some more Trey Hendrickson rumors here in just a second, but today's show is presented by PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every single day, but on PrizePicks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on PrizePicks, where it is good to be right. I personally use PrizePicks for so many different types of sporting events, whether it's professional football, baseball, basketball, college sports, MMA, boxing, and so much more. PrizePicks is a ton of fun, and if you guys know ball, you can win real money all season long on PrizePicks. This is what we got cooked up for a power play this week. Terry McLaurin going with a more than. Only needs a half touchdown for him. That could be receiving or a rushing touchdown. I think that has a very good chance of hitting on that one. And then Travis Kelce. This is the max discount. It is discounted from 47.5 receiving yards all the way down to just a half receiving yard for Travis Kelce. So if you see that, make sure you get that into your PrizePicks lineups this week. PrizePicks is super simple to play. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. And if you get your picks right, you can cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money today. PrizePicks is the best place to win cash while watching sports. Join millions of users and sign up today. Download the PrizePicks app and use promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That link is down in the description of today's show. It's also going to be at the pinned comment of today's show as well. It's PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Now, we also got some more details on the Trey Hendrickson contract deal / raise that he ended up signing, making a franchise tag a little bit more of a possibility for the Bengals and Trey Hendrickson next season. And I'll be honest, I was against the whole, just giving him a raise and not, just letting him walk after next season. But Trey Hendrickson also didn't make sure that there was a no tag clause in there. I think kind of the way things are working out right now, I'm kind of speculating a little bit, but I think it makes things a little bit more easy for the Bengals and Trey Hendrickson to agree to a franchise tag in that 2026 season. Here's what Joe Corry yesterday reported about Trey Hendrickson's contract. He said Trey Hendrickson's adjusted contract has $13 million in new bonus proration. His 2025 salary cap is now just over $25 million. Since there is now a voiding 2026 contract year for franchise tag purposes, 120% of the prior year's salary is $30.2 million. And I think that's still kind of in the right ballpark of where Trey Hendrickson wanted that deal to be. He wanted at least 2 years guaranteed. That was the whole hiccup with that Trey Hendrickson deal. The Bengals only wanted to give him 1 year guaranteed. Trey Hendrickson wanted at least 2. This basically does that same thing if the Bengals end up franchise tagging him next year, and obviously Trey Hendrickson has to sign that franchise tag. And I do think it's noteworthy, and we mentioned it when the news broke that there is no tag clause in Trey Hendrickson's new deal, but it was kind of being reported that the Bengals were just going to end up letting him leave after the season, which I think is also kind of a stupid idea anyways. I wonder if the plan the whole time was just to give him a raise this season and then offer him the franchise tag next season to get him that $30.2 million, because if Trey Hendrickson does sign that franchise tag, that money does then become guaranteed. So essentially, you do have 2 years guaranteed if they end up going down that route. Remember, they ended up franchising T. Higgins as well before they ended up getting that deal done, so maybe they just needed an extra year. And who knows, the Bengals could also go a route where they end up tagging and trading Trey Hendrickson next year too. That's certainly a possibility, but I kind of think that it's more likely that they end up just franchise tagging Trey Hendrickson and let him play out the 2026 season under that $30.2 million franchise tag cost. So let me know what you guys think. Will the Bengals franchise tag Trey Hendrickson next season? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section of today's show. Type T if you think they end up tagging him, or type L if you think Trey Hendrickson just ends up leaving the Bengals in free agency after this season. Now, there was some more reporting as well from Ian Rappaport that the Packers were the team that, quote, called and engaged the most with the Bengals for a possible Trey Hendrickson trade. According to Rapp, defensive tackle Kenny Clark would have been involved in that trade as well, but Green Bay at the time did not actually want to part ways with Kenny Clark. Obviously, things changed, after the Trey Hendrickson deal ended up getting done, and Green Bay shifted, and they ended up trading 2 first-round picks and Kenny Clark to the Dallas Cowboys for Micah Parsons. And I think the Bengals ended up winning on this front. For one, you end up keeping Trey Hendrickson. That's a win I think that every single Bengals fan out there, could chalk up as a win. Kenny Clark would have been a really good player to end up adding to your interior, but you did also end up signing Mike Pennel anyways for just over $1.2 million. Kenny Clark's 2025 cap hit right now is about $2.3 million, so it's about $1.1 million more than what you're paying Mike Pennel right now, but it skyrockets after this season to about $21 million and $20 million, I think, in that 2027 season, I believe it was. And, look, Mike Pennel did a really good job in week 1, so I think that's a win for the Bengals. He actually had the highest stop rate, about 19%, among defensive linemen with 20-plus snaps in week 1 per NFL Plus. You got a good veteran defensive tackle for very cheap, and you end up keeping Trey Hendrickson. Obviously, nobody was willing to end up giving you those 2 first-round picks that the Bengals wanted for Trey Hendrickson. So I think this is the best-case scenario. The Bengals end up keeping Trey Hendrickson, and you end up signing Mike Pennel a little bit cheaper than what it would have costed in the future for Kenny Clark.